career, a nutrition career. And so thank you, Mona, for exemplifying what it is that we teach.
I am representing the science department today, and one of the things that we've really emphasized lately is that you are the scientist. And so many great scientists that we had to choose from. It was so hard. We had so many nominees. But this nominee was at the top of her class in AP Biology. She always went above and beyond to the minimum to excel. She was always kind and respectful to her peers. She was great at lab work and classwork. Her cheerful attitude improved the overall class attitude. We'd like to award this book award to Megan Hobbs.
In the math department, we'd like to award our math book to Ellis Anderson. In the math department, we look for a student that not only knows how to solve the types of problems we show them in class, but also knows how to use that information to solve deeper problems that are a little different, a little harder, a little more abstract. A mathematician doesn't just know how to solve an integral problem, but actually really understands what it is. Sorry if you don't know. She does. When we find a student that can make the connections between what we're teaching now and what they've already learned, we just cheer inside. That's why we went into teaching in the first place. So Ellis, we've chosen, she's very well-rounded. Interests range from language, theater, science, math, not PE, everything else. And then we picked a book that quite literally no one else will enjoy but Ellis. It is, it's written by Isaac Newton. It's about physics. It proves calculus, and it's written in Latin. No one else would like that book but
I'm representing the counseling department, and we are giving our book award this year to Anna Chan. Annie as a ninth grader, I was immediately taken with her level of maturity and overall depth. I was surprised to learn that in middle school she was kind of wild and unruly. I suppose life has changed her a little bit over time, and I instantly knew, though, that she was a force to be reckoned with. She may be small, but she is powerful. Over the years, we've had some meaningful discussions, and I watched her grow and progress in spite of difficult life circumstances and situations completely out of her control. I can't begin to say enough good about this student or share with you how much I believe that she will somehow change the world. I can't wait to watch her future unfold, and I hope she will keep me posted. Not only is she an overall amazing human, the fact is, I just really like her. Annie Chan.
We've already talked, so she knows. Ellis. Ellis has a beautiful voice that is expressed through media. Starting last year in video, found a way to be vulnerable and honest. And then this year, continuing forward in the world of media, she has mentored her peers and really expanded in this world that is digital technology. And I can't wait to see what Latin science, media, all of the things she does in her life.
Logan, come on up. this is a way that we get to experience classics in a very real way. The first piece of music I have is a collection of songs by Fritz Kreisler, the violinist, and he was described as one of the finest gentlemen that you would ever meet, and a fantastic violinist. And I feel that way about Logan. And we also have a piece by Henry Wieniawski, one of the original hot dogs of the violin. And most violinists can trace their pedagogy back to Wieniawski in some way. And I also have a scale or technique book because you're the type of person that I know realizes how important the fundamentals are, and you've always had that. Logan's been the glue of our orchestra this year, and we really appreciate him and the gentleman that he's been.
Joseph Aguilar, please join us.
Socratic discussions most often begin with a question, but they can't go any further unless there is a response. A student familiar with the text must be bold enough to expand on the idea, ask another question, risk an answer, or stare down his fellow students, demanding a communal exploration of the question.
Joseph is that student. Joseph displayed a constant willingness to jump in and help, do, speak, and take a risk, always with a respectful smile or a contagious laugh.
His annotations are artwork. When he turns them in, I sigh and wonder and exclaim, "This is a thing of beauty."
He sings on command.
One line. Thank you.
Socratic seminar is a study of the humanities. It is not only interacting with history and literature, writing and thinking critically, it is really about becoming more humane, more compassionate, more considerate.
Joseph plays the violin during lunch to raise student morale. He instigates group hugs when classmates get vulnerable, and he moonwalks.
No, you afterwards. In addition to Socratic 12, because of a glitch in previous schooling, Joseph also was enrolled in Socratic 10. When Mrs. Smith confirmed he was also a stellar Socratic 10 student, well, certainly excelling in 2 Socratic classes his senior year makes him eligible for the Socratic, eligible and worthy of the Socratic Award.
Right now, I'm going to give Joseph, I think, is the greatest compliment anyone can give anyone. Joseph, we trust you. Thank you for your integrity, your effort, and your example. Thank you for your dedication to building and strengthening the community around you. You have been a sheer delight not only to teach, but to learn from.
What we chose for him is a study of people like you and me, who were dedicated, kept their focus, and persevered through all challenges to become the names we know and love. Jane Goodall, Thoreau, Whitman, Frost, Gandhi, Keats, Beethoven. Now Joseph, go and become an Aguilar.
All right. Will Ellis Anderson, please come join me. I told my AP Latin students at the beginning of the year They have one of the most difficult jobs out of all the students at Maeser. They have to translate into understandable English large works of literature written in a language no one speaks anymore, for which there is relatively little outside help. There are no native Latin speakers with whom to practice. Few Latin media exist, such as music or film, to seek out enriching and cultural experiences from. There are few online linguistic resources available, and don't even think about Google Translate. The relative dearth of helpful information gives the phrase educated guess a certain poignancy. Translation requires navigating esoteric grammar and long-forgotten idioms to produce fluent modern English that makes sense. Very seldom is such a great degree of accuracy expected from a high school student with so little supporting information on a daily basis. I give all that background to illustrate just how impressive Ellis's academic work has been. Ellis has a certain knack for knowing just how words fit together and has proven her ability to take sometimes conflicting information from an ancient text and make sense out of it. To get to this level, discipline and patience are necessary, but not sufficient. Ellis is a curious and precise learner who is moved by certain turns of phrase and grammatical expressions in texts. She has favorite Latin words and expressions and overcomes obstacles with humor. I won't soon forget how Ellis translated a certain Roman military tactic as transacting the turtle, or gleefully referred to a large religious structure in the ancient African city of Carthage as Juno's Honkin' Temple. But don't take my word for it. Ellis was a Maeser Sterling Scholar in World Languages this year. She received the gold medal for only missing 2 questions on the National Latin exam, for which she was invited to apply for a scholarship awarded by the American Classical League. She received a summa cum laude for both the Latin and mythology exams at the BYU Latin Fair and magna cum laude for the Roman history exam. Maeser's class of 2019 is an impressive group, and Ellis represents the World Languages department well as she embodies Maeser's prized values of inquisitive excellence and immersion in intellectual and classical culture. And believe me, Ellis will need it, because we're awarding her a book written in Latin in the 12th century. Ellis has mentioned her enthusiasm with Geoffrey of Monmouth's Historia Regum Britanniae, so we're awarding her the critical text. So congratulations, Ellis, and enjoy.
Hey guys. You guys are awesome. I was thinking about the word salutatorian, and you all know from the Latin that you took that comes from the Latin word that's used as a greeting. Valedictorian comes from vale, which is used to say goodbye. And I was wondering why that was, and I looked it up, and I found out that the salutatorian used to speak at the beginning of a graduation ceremony, and then the valedictorian would speak at the end. So I was kind of disappointed that they made me sit here on the stand anxiously awaiting when all the previous salutatorians of the past century have been able to get it over with right at the beginning. I'm not a crier, but this last month has proved otherwise. I cried in relief when Spirit Week was over. I cried on the inside when my name was called to read in the last lecture assembly, and when I was told I would be speaking at graduation. I cried when I attempted to take my cleats off after my last Maeser soccer game. I cried at the end of my last Socratic period ever. These tears were the tears of hard work, anxiety, friendship, and love. As Winnie the Pooh says, how lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard.
Just over a month and a half ago, a fire broke out in the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. People around the world watched live as the spire collapsed into the flames. Many were deeply saddened. They had visited the cathedral as tourists with their families, or perhaps even had a spiritual experience in the beautiful sanctuary. I've never been to France, but I have read The Hunchback of Notre Dame by Victor Hugo. I felt I had earned a connection with the building by trudging through the lengthy chapters Hugo spent describing the gargoyles, hallways, nave, towers, and bells in verbose yet vivid detail. You thought the sewers were bad in the midst. I nearly cried when I saw the fire. The fire made me wonder, what would happen if Maeser burned down? You've all thought it. Maybe it was when you were dreading a final, or maybe it was just after an especially bad day. But we've all wondered, what if the school burned down? But I'd like to actually seriously consider this question. If the school burned down, what would we lose? The gym floor would be toast, literally. But at least the basketball players wouldn't be able to complain about how dusty it is anymore. What would we lose of real lasting value? Richard Parker probably wouldn't make it out this time. And the trophies in the main hallway would go up in smoke. But do those trophies really matter? The most important things aren't things. They aren't tied to physical objects. Only evil wizards and dark lords make the mistake of binding what is most important in them to physical objects or places. Don't try to turn your yearbook into a Horcrux. We can carry the things that really matter on with us. We can retain the lessons we learned about pride and humility without all the Paradise Lost projects hanging in Mr. Dowdle's classroom. I no longer need Mr. Watabe's unit circle hanging on the whiteboard to know what the sign of 5 pi over 4 is. Sure, there's something special about the building and the uniforms that we have made memories in over the last 6 years. They represent the more important things. But when we walk out between those pillars at the front of the school for the last time, we will still have the memories that we made inside. Though we'll never put on Maeser blazers again with that crest over our chests, the words truth, honor, and virtue will remain in our hearts. We are leaving the building, but we don't have to leave the things we learned, the memories we made, or the people we love. As a class, we have a lot to remember. Most of us have been here since 7th grade. Some more of us joined along the way. I can't picture my senior year without any of you. Before we say goodbye, let's reminisce. We're leaving the building, but here are some things that we will keep in memory. We never lost the Spirit Bowl. We won in 7th grade and placed in the top 3 for the last 2 years. And even though I was supposed to be neutral as student body president, I drew a dark mark on my arm under my sleeve before the Spirit Bowl this year to show that I was and always will be a member of the class of 2019 and a loyal Slytherin. I remember the chants Ms. taught us to memorize Latin congregations. Summa agricolae, bum ba bum 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 bum. Thanks, Liz. The one exception, if I had to pick one word to describe our grade, it would be chill. We had very little drama in our time at Maeser. The one exception to that is probably Senior Assassin. The subterfuge, betrayal, and paranoia of those weeks was insane. I know way more than I should about when and where you all live, work, and go to church. I remember Mrs. McCary, Fire Lord Ozai, and air chairs. The Extonian Seesaw, Miss Goodley Richens, and Reganus Wengithus. Coach Grosbeck telling us to run the 2-mile loop, again. Ms. and Gerber demanding ice cream and M&Ms. Eating McGeestra's sourdough, going through to a seat on the bus on the way to Lagoon. Zoe doesn't wear his zip-up vest anymore, but that was a constant in my life for 4 years of my time at Maeser. I will never forget when Lizzie played Fireflies on the bagpipes in the talent show. Ellis knits. McKenna Taylor and Joseph Aguilar are each amazing on the violin. Haley Griffin can sit down and sight read any song you'd like on the piano. It is little known, but Taylor Farnsworth has an amazing voice. Tyron does ballroom, Aaron pitches in baseball, Annalise volunteers at the zoo. Allie Kilpack loves 80s music. Cassidy Wiersdorf likes plants. Daxton gets stuck on elevators. Max Jones collects sounds, and Cassia Lane speaks Czech. Amber Bridges called the FDA to ask if apple stickers are edible. Slade vaped on his asthma machine during Socratic. Zach Wright drives a blue Elise box car that's supposed to be the TARDIS, but the P is missing. Thea Manning can sing every word of every song of every Broadway musical you've ever heard of, as well as a few you haven't. If you're ever looking for a good movie to watch, just ask Jacob Carr. Bronwyn cares for horses, Mano is a fitness expert, Katie plays water polo, Seth makes puns, Kaylin naps, Jordan dances, Ammon studies history. Our class has contributed a lot to Maeser and its culture. With the class of 2019, Maeser assemblies lose the heavenly sound of Jashib Young's voice. With Ethan Larson, Maeser loses General Lee, Major Part, and Private Virtue. In Grant Gardner, Maeser will lose one of its mascots with the mane, but Maximus will stick around. The class of 2019 has some pretty amazing people in it. I will miss listening to Eden talk about mindfulness and living deliberately. I'll miss long metaphysical arguments with Nathan, and Ben Sunder saying hi to me at lunch. I'll miss the pleasant conversation I had with Lily Steele 3 days ago when I realized it had been way too long since I'd said hi to her. I'm going to miss each of you. Just as the people of Paris lost Notre Dame to the flames, we will soon be losing Maeser to the past. But when Notre Dame burned down, the culture, history, and ideas that developed in it remained. We are leaving Maeser the building, but the good times, the bad times, the lessons learned, and the friends made behind those columns will remain.
I'm grateful that they changed the order of those things, because I am not going to be the last thing you hear today. In July of 2016, I got dragged around Heber Valley Camp by a 4-year-old. Let me explain. We were at a family reunion, and most of the cousins present were significantly older than me. This was my dad's side of the family, so they were old enough for their conversation not to interest my 14-year-old mind. There were a few exceptions, including Abby Jane, a 4-year-old who apparently kind of looked up to me and really enjoyed hanging out with me. I was happy to oblige. At one point, Abby Jane had decided she wanted a walking stick, and I told her I'd help her look for a good stick after dinner along all those trails sporadic from our campsite. So after dinner, we started to walk, and walk, and walk. There were not a lot of good walking stick-sized sticks along the trail, even for a small person. I picked up a few reeds or twigs and asked if they'd work, but she gave them all an insistent yet seemingly contented no. Well, that or she ignored them. 4-year-olds can be really hard to communicate with. To be honest, I think she forgot about the walking stick search pretty soon into the hike. I had only planned to go exploring a little around the campground, and as we started to get further from our campsite, I started to wonder if we were taking too long. I figured we should turn back so we wouldn't miss anything. "Hey, Abby Jane," I said, "I don't think we're going to find a stick here. How about we go back?" "No," was the reply. I was too afraid of losing my cool older cousin status to insist, so I complied. It wasn't a big deal, I thought. I was sure we'd turn around soon when she got tired. I don't know what part of me thought that a 4-year-old would get tired. We kept walking. It started getting dark, and knowing that our travel time would be the same as our travel time there, I was pretty sure we needed to start heading the other way soon, so our family wouldn't worry. "How about we turn around?" I would suggest, but she would shake her head or give another no, giggle, and keep on walking. It's hard to remember how the passage of time went, or how often my increasingly stressed requests to turn back were put down by nonchalant no's. For a while, I didn't want to push her because, again, I was the cool older cousin. I didn't want to be thought of as bossy or impatient, and as long as we were on a trail, I thought we could follow it back to the pavilion.
So when the trail got off onto someone else's campsite, full of teenage girls, I decided to bring Abby back down the trail, whether she wanted to or not. But it was far too late by that point. Abby was in control. We ran through the camp, me stressing out, Abby walking up to random people and calling them her new friends, until I had no idea which way the trail was. Somehow we ended up walking down the side of the road in the hopes that our pavilion was somewhere along it. And that was when we were finally found by some park rangers who had been looking for us while our parents were freaking out. So in the end we got back fine and it all worked out. But it illustrates an important lesson. Walking sticks are really hard to find. Seriously, no, there is a point. In high school and in life, we treat making friends with a lot of importance, which is valid. Friends can be very helpful for a lot of things, but it's possible that getting too wrapped up in the approval of others, whether it's friends, the internet, or a 4-year-old, can blind us to the truth or to the right decisions. Being popular or cool doesn't necessarily mean that something is right. We know that. Popular ideas can be false, popular choices can be wrong, and popular ideals can be full of appeal and completely empty of virtue. After all, Socrates was convicted and killed by popular vote. I know, Maeser is probably one of the least likely schools to have problems with peer pressure, but we're leaving Maeser. We're moving out of our little room, making more new friends, finding more new ideas. It's exciting. As we do so, I hope we can take the things we've learned here with us, along with everything new. Particularly the school motto, truth, honor, and virtue. We've learned and searched for a lot of truth over the course of high school. Some of it has been in the form of facts, calculus, physics, and all that jazz. Some of it has been in the form of stories like Life of Pi, Greek plays, or the actual history of jazz. And some of the deepest, most important truths have come in the form of ideas and ideals. In Socratic, there have been innumerable discussions that have slowly unwrapped layer after layer of the question. What is true? What is right? What is good? We've spoken, read, and listened to each other, and we've probed the depths of the human heart, and not just the kids who took anatomy. After 4 years of seeking the truth, I hope no one here thinks they're finished. Yet I hope all of us have found some answers. And I hope we keep seeking that truth. We've been taught to practice honor through the honor code, attendance, and, of course, uniforms. The last of which we probably won't have in college. No more full dress days, yay! But we will have situations that we'll need to respect, whether through our dress or our mannerisms. We'll have situations where we'll need to be reliable. We'll have chances to choose whether or not to be honest and whether or not to act on what we've said we would do. We'll need to continue being honorable. And finally, of course, I sure hope we've learned about virtue over the course of our years at Maeser, somewhere between stressing out about hypothetical trains as sophomores and putting it into action with senior capsules. Virtue is more than just a list of attributes or things to do. Virtue isn't something we do, but something we become. And integrity is sticking with it, even when others don't. Since we're already using stories about sticks, I figured a Cosmere reference was in order. For those of you who haven't read Brandon Sanderson's epic book, Words of Radiance, there's a wonderful scene in which one character, who has the ability to persuade inanimate objects to transform, needs to make a fire. So, of course, she asks some sticks to set themselves on fire. It makes more sense in the story, don't worry. Thing is, she needs to convince the sticks to change. 2 sticks agree and become fire pretty quickly, but the 3rd stick refuses to give in to pressure. I am a stick, it says. And though she tries everything from begging to bribery to simply telling it you want to burn, the 3rd stick is resilient. I am a stick, it repeats, every time. Sometimes we're kind of like that stick. We face persuasive, powerful voices that want to change us. In those times, it may look like we don't have a choice. Like all the other sticks have changed, and we might as well join them and give in to the outside forces that want us to burn ourselves down. But we do have a choice. As human beings, we have free will. And if it's best to stay a stick, you can stay a stick, whatever that means to you. As we go on to college and life ahead of us, it will be helpful to remember the laws of physics and the rules of MLA formatting, but it will be vital to remember the values we've learned here at Maeser. May we continue seeking truth, honor, and virtue, and may we continue to stick to those ideals, no matter whether or not it's cool. Thank you.
Now,
for the award.